Great. Well, Emily, Spencer, thank you so much for talking with me today. First off, I just wanted to congratulate you, I guess, on your last two medals at your first competitions of the year. What's been the highlights of your season so far?
Well, definitely just the little victories that we've had already thus far coming into these competitions. We were both dealing with some struggles with injuries, and it has kind of been a little bit of a tricky time for us. So I think, there was even a point where we were questioning whether we would go to these competitions, but we decided to just try to absorb the experience, and it ended up, being a pleasant experience.
Yeah,
That's
just
great.
getting into competing more early in the season compared to our previous seasons, for more experience just with our programs and getting it out there sooner before we head out to the Grand Prix. So, yeah.
Yeah. What kind of injuries have you been dealing with?
Well, me, I've had some shoulder pains in the past with my right shoulder. I had a subluxation, so it's like a partial dislocation, a few years ago, and it's been something that I've always had to manage. And the past, couple seasons, it hasn't been so much of an issue, but as we've amped up to try to get ready for the season early on, I had kind of tweaked it before, kind of like in July, like around Skate Detroit. And so it required us to really have to take a step back from training. And as far as my body goes, it's always been like my shoulder has been an issue.
Yeah, and for me, ankle, like minor ankle injuries. But I would say it's actually a blessing in disguise, because it really gave us an opportunity on how to manage and work together really effectively, given our circumstances. So it's definitely brought us closer together and taught us how to work together regardless of our situation.
Were you still able to do some training, even if you were limited with what you could be working on dealing with those injuries?
I mean, yeah, it's just one of those situations where we couldn't really do any lifts in our programs, and she, because of her foot, couldn't work on a lot of throws. So it was like doing run-throughs where they didn't really feel like run-throughs, because a lot of our main elements, I mean, going into John Nicks, the John Nicks competition I started lifting like 3 days before, just because we had to get ready for that competition. And I've been pushing through that pain and trying to do my best to manage it. And that's what she was saying in terms of us having to communicate that with both of our bodies and try to, accomplish the same goal in these competitions, given our circumstance.
Yeah, because even for throws, I could only do like a maximum of like 5 a day. So and lifts too.
Well, sometimes not even. Sometimes she couldn't even do any.
Sometimes it's none at all. And so that was really, again, heading up to both of the competitions, especially back to back. We only started to do them, especially lifts, like 3 days before. So it was really just a test of our ability to really work together and communicate to the best of our ability, because it's not really an ideal situation for both of us, but we were really happy we were able to make it work and still have a really a great learning experience for both of us.
Yeah. So I think for a lot of our viewers, they may just be getting to know you as skaters and as a team. Could you share a little bit about how you started skating, each of you, and how your team came together?
Yeah, you go first.
So I started skating at the age of 4 as a single skater in Texas. And I competed all the way up until the senior level until about 4 years ago. But I've always had a passion for pairs. I skated pairs at the pre-juve and juvenile level with Daniel Viacia. He doesn't skate anymore, but I really enjoyed it at that time. And he had to quit skating, so we had to end that partnership. but I was always looking for a partner after that. And I paired up with Misha Mitrofanov and skated at the novice level during the 2015 season. And then I decided to focus more on singles. So 4 years ago, I think it was 2019, where I had a extreme desire to try pairs again. So yeah.
Yeah. As far as my history, you know, I grew up with my sister. I grew up with doing so many different sports, and my sister was always in the skating world. She later on became an ice dancer, but I was always surrounded I was always at the rink. I grew up at the rink. And one day when I was 9 or so, I decided and asked my mom if I could try skating. And the funny thing is she said no, because she thought I would try it. And just like all of the other sports, kind of get bored and fizzle out. And given that skating can sometimes, it's not a cheap sport per se. Said no, she didn't want to, but I kept begging her. And finally we got a pair of my sister's skates, dyed them black. And from there, the rest was history. So I then went on to do singles and pursue singles until I was about 18, 19. And then I made that switch to pairs. I had a couple of partners. And again, in those other partnerships, that's where I had a lot of my shoulder problems. And so by the time that, before me and Emily had paired, I was actually thinking of finishing skating, because my shoulder was not in good condition then. I had just gotten a procedure for it, not a surgical procedure, but like PRP is what it's called. So like these deep injections. And I was just, I was ready to kind of thinking to hang up the skates. So I moved back home to California. And then during that rehab process, Mitch had called me and he had asked, Mitch is the president of our federation. And he had called to say, hey, Emily Chan is looking for a partner and he thinks that we could be a good match. And from there, the rest was history. I was hesitant at first, and our first tryout together was actually just stroking, because my shoulder was not in a place where I could even do any throws or any lifts or anything pair related. And I decided from that first week that there was potential, but it would be a long road with my shoulder recovery. But I was up for that challenge, and then here we are.
Yeah, I think for the first 8 months, we didn't do any lifts or anything related to the shoulder, while we just got a feel for each other and pair skating for me again, because it was a while since I skated pairs. So the first quite a while, we weren't doing any lifts or anything.
Give you some chance to get used to each other's skating rhythms and some of those things that aren't the flashy parts, but are so important as a pair.
Yeah, definitely.
So this year you're reusing your short program from last year. What went into that decision?
Well, we actually had really struggled to find our short music this year. And we had gone with this more modern piece of music.
Classical, I think.
Well, we started off with that.
That's right.
That it was by JP Cooper, so it was more of a pop type.
It was a pop song.
Yeah, and again, it just felt almost like too much for where we were at that time. So then we ended up going with a slower piece of music that we actually competed.
Detroit.
Well, it was at Skate Detroit on our first season together. So it never really got any exposure, and it was a good program. And finally, we competed at Skate Detroit, reusing that piece this season. And from there, we decided that something was missing, and we knew that we got a lot of positive exposure with the short program that we used last season, but we didn't really get to showcase it because internationally. So we talked with the coaches and we decided that, maybe we could go back to it for one more season and just see if we can give it a little bit more international exposure.
Yeah, it's a really strong program. I enjoyed seeing it again this year. So
Thank you.
And then for your free skate, you're using music that's been pretty commonly used in pairs before. So what went into that decision? And then what for your choreography, did you look at previous programs, or did you try to keep it just something that would be unique to you?
I don't know, do you want to?
Well, yeah,
How we pick music?
Well, for us, just going into this season, we were in a place where we wanted to continue to evolve our skating together as a team.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt like, in terms of, coming to terms with picking this music, we felt that it was a genre that we were pretty natural with. Mm-hmm. So it was that we felt, everything just felt like, in terms of the choreography, and a lot of times when we choose music, we kind of put something on and we choreograph to it a little bit and kind of just improv and get a feel
it
right
in our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, we want to do this, and you can feel that passion and that energy from the music. And it also was very much our music style, and it matched our skating style. And it's a very relatable story of love that anybody can relate to love, whether or not it's romantic love, unconditional love, family love. It's about love, and we thought it would be a really great message to share in a performance, so people can be able to enjoy that as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So do you play a role in in the choreography of your own programs? It sounds like a little bit, or at least in your certainly play a role in choosing the music.
Yeah, I mean, since we've paired together, we've always done our own programs, and then it's alongside our secondary coach, Olga Ganicheva. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we've kind of always come together as a team in terms of the music picking process. And yeah, I mean, it's something that we've, I think, been able to use to our advantage, because we're able to, if you notice, that same program from the start of the season to the end, it kind of evolves. It takes its own form, and it's one of our strengths because we have that creative ability.
Right. Yeah, we're very creative. We love to be creative, and we're very creative and artistic people. So that expression through our skating, oftentimes it does evolve throughout the season, because we feel like this needs more passion, this needs to chill out, and then we just go with what our heart tells us to put there.
And then Olga is kind of like she's directing us,
our mentor, kind of letting us
know.
Yeah,
she's letting us know that, or she has an idea, and we kind of work on it, and we just kind of come together as a team to try to put something together.
She gives us guidance on kind of what ideas that would go well here, and then we build off of that, and then kind of have feedback back and forth, and then it comes together for that whole piece.
Yeah, that's great. You often need to have that outside eye also when you you can feel whether something's working for you, but whether it also is giving that image that you want it to have as well. Speaking of elements now, are there anything that you're working on that's going to be new this season, or ways that you're looking to push yourself technically?
Yeah. Well, I think, one of our goals down the road is to get more intricate lifts. We've gotten our levels. We've always been decent about getting the levels, but so many skaters in this day and age have such creative lifts, and I think that's a next step for us.
Right. Yeah.
We're also working on our throw triple lutz now, which before we've always had the loop throw, and we still have those planned for this next Grand Prix, but we are working just on trying to increase that level of difficulty. And then in terms of the list, for example, is just getting more creative for from a GOE standpoint,
and also increasing our power and just our ability to have that flow and smoothness on the ice as well, speed.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite element?
I love throws for me. I feel like I'm flying through the air.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could say I'm lucky, but I honestly I love all of them. I mean, lifts, twists, throws. I probably, if I had to narrow it down, there's nothing better. Like, it's such a cool feeling to be able to do a lift where you're just flying and there's no scratchiness and it's just really smooth and you're just carrying all that flow through the ice. I think that's a really cool feeling that has stuck with me.
It's like that satisfying feeling.
Definitely. So we spoke a little bit about goals for the among those technical elements, looking at sort of where this season is, and there's a lot of opportunity, I think, because there's been a lot of openings in the pairs field. Do you have goals for where you're hoping to place, or other things that you've set for yourself for this season?
I think a goal for us is definitely to make the world team this year. It's something that we've never been to a world championships, and it's like you said, those doors are open, and we also have, great potential within our skating at the international level. We just want to keep evolving our skating and growing together as people and as skaters, and be able to represent that and show that to, an audience. And, we've always come to terms with knowing that by doing that, the results will be there and those opportunities will be there, because, that at the end of the day is our passion.
Yeah, and it's also really important to us that we are not looking at these openings as like for granted. We really want to push ourselves to bring something special and something that's exciting and new to the world of figure skating and to the pair discipline, and really bring something that the world hasn't seen before, and not just because the door is wide open now. So that's really exciting for us that we do have this opportunity, but it's definitely not taken for granted.
Definitely. In your pair, do you play particular roles? I'm thinking, like, in terms of your working as a team, is one of you a little more calling the shots in particular ways, or how do as two people, have you come to have a good working relationship?
Well, I think that's something that we've had to work for.
Yeah, definitely.
To have that good
balance
dynamic
and balance. Yeah.
I think that before, in previous season, it's always been me kind of taking those ropes.
Yeah.
But as gone by,
it's evolved a little bit.
We've tried to work to create a little bit more balance, because I think that in the long run, that's really for the goals that we want to achieve and where we want to take our skating, that is necessary. So yeah, now, speaking back on John Nix and these earlier competitions and having to go through some of these struggles and hard times, it's been that opportunity for us to kind of grow as individuals and also find a little bit more of that balance and being able to work together without one of us just kind of being a dictator,
Yeah.
I do feel like that's changed a lot this year. In the past, it has been of more that Spencer's leading, and but we've kind of shifted our partnership to really work on our relationship together and our partnership, and how we can both contribute to our partnership in a creative way, because there are two people. And so when we can both contribute to that, even if it's just ideas and how can we change this, how can we make this better, having more ideas for us and working on that communication has really helped us evolve as a team.
You are both doing some coaching, you said. What types of skaters have you been working with, and do you enjoy doing coaching?
So I don't coach as much as Spencer. He's like a superhuman. He coaches hockey and skating.
Wow.
But I coach, we have a junior coaching program at our rink, the Boston Skating Club. And so I coach under the juvenile level, like juvenile and below. And we basically mentors to full-time coaches at the rink. And so we coach the lower levels there. I coach after training, a couple hours more during the off season, but as the season picks up, I kind of toned down on the coaching so I can focus more on.
Yeah, as far as for me, you know, I was very lucky to get the opportunity to be the lead coach for the hockey skills department here at the Skating Club of Boston. So that was a huge opportunity for me, and it's also required me to have to obviously, you know, a different responsibility, and that's also something that I've learned to have to balance, because at the end of the day, my goals and my reason for being here is for the Olympics, and it is for that competitive dream, you know. But it's been easier. My girlfriend Gabriella Isa, who's also a skater here, is kind of, you know, team coaching with me with the hockey program, and it's definitely, you know, a great opportunity for us and for me. But yeah, coaching is great. I think it helps, and I think Emily and I can both say the same, but it helps us become better skaters. And also, you know, you're working with the youth, and I think it's
giving back is
great, and it's just great opportunities for us to continue to learn, and that's happening at a coaching standpoint. It makes you understand your coaches better. I think it's a thing that, you know, it's not always so easy, but it's something we've learned to balance. But you know, there's also some great takeaways from it, and we enjoy it.
And outside of the rink, what types of things do you enjoy doing? How do you spend some of your free time?
Well, for me, I'm a huge outdoors person. I actually, funny enough, before coming here for this interview, I was hiking.
Oh, nice.
So I love all that stuff. I love, you know, there's some beaches out here in the summer. Sometimes you can catch a wave and surf. So, you know, I didn't really have time to because of coaching this summer, but last summer I was spending a lot of time at the beach, and I'm the type of person who loves to get outside and just move.
Yeah, I'm a big nature person as well, but for me, it's more like farmland, flowers, like being out like in the grass. In my free time, I love to bake and cook, specifically plant-based. It's so interesting to me, and so it's challenging in different ways, but like it's really like really cool to be able to create plant-based dishes that who are used to eating meat will enjoy as well.
She's an amazing cook.
Yeah, it's a really passion of mine, like ever since I was really little, because I've come from a big restaurant family. Like both my parents, my aunts, my grandparents on both sides, they all like came from restaurant backgrounds. And I also really enjoy making jewelry. Yeah.
Cool. That's great. What kind of jewelry do you make?
So lately I've gotten into like gemstone jewelry, but I can do like all kinds of stuff, because I've been also making jewelry since I was, I think, 6 years old.
Wow.
It's just a really fun side hobby.
Well, that's great. And I can definitely see what you mean about being a creative person and like in all of your hobbies as well. So I know that you all are not going to get to compete at Skate America at your home rink, but do you have recommendations, since there have been people coming from all over the world to, you know, a place that you spend a lot of time? Are there recommendations that you would have for people in the Boston area or around that area that they should check out while they're in town?
That is a very good question.
Oh my gosh, 100%. The fruit picking. Like go to the park and just pick flower. Like they have flower picking too, and like it's something is so just healing and satisfying about picking fresh fruit and vegetables off the tree. I mean, it's like this amazing feeling. It's so relaxing and calming, and it's not an experience that you can get anywhere. Because coming from Texas, we didn't really have any of that over there. So when I came to Boston, there are like farms everywhere where you can pick your own like apples, especially right now during the fall. And that was such an amazing experience for me. And like, I feel like it can be such an amazing experience for everyone else who's coming from different parts of the world or country.
There's a beach from the rink. It's probably, without traffic, about a 35-minute drive. It's called Nantasket Beach. It's a beautiful beach to just walk along the water. It will be a little bit chillier by the time we get to Skate America, but if you know, if you're that kind of person who just, you know, likes a calming environment, definitely Nantasket Beach is a place to hit up.
Very cool. Yeah. I will look forward to that and also share with some of the folks that I know are coming from much further. I'm in Maine, so it's like
Okay.
somewhat familiar area to me, but that's great. And so for the rest of your season, you're obviously preparing for your Grand Prix now. Are there things that you're particularly looking forward to that are coming up?
I think just the experience, you know, this is our first time we've gotten 2 Grand Prix in a season. And I think just, you know, as we've come together more, we go through these travel experiences. And I think just the journey, you know, I think we're both so much about the journey. And I think being able to go to these different places, especially, you know, like a place like Japan, where we've, you know, it's halfway across, well, it's across the world, you know, so just being able to experience and soak in those and be able to be under a crowd who really appreciates skating like the Japanese do. I think that's really something that we really look forward to. You know, we work so hard here at home, and then you get to be able to go explore these places. And obviously we have a job to do, but it's really fun to just be able to walk around and just enjoy and get to meet the culture.
Yeah, for me, since I was little, I've always dreamed to go to Asia, and I've never been. So last year, I think we've got Cup of China, but it got canceled. So I was excited, but then I was like, oh no. So I'm really excited to finally go to Asia, because when that was my dream, like even as I started skating when I was really little. So I'm really excited to go to Japan, and I've never been to Canada. He trained in Canada for a bit, but it's really exciting for me, especially. I'm pretty sure for him too, just to experience different cultures, and just like experience the environment. It's very different. Like going to Asia and going to even Europe, it feels so much different than in the United States. And so we're really grateful that we get to experience that. Even though we're competing, it's such a pleasant experience to go outside and just experience that, and then having to give what we when we skate, and then
Wonderful. Well, I hope you get a lot of time around the competition to explore, and that it goes well on the ice and off. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's really great to get to know you both a little bit.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.